the method that you're most comfortable with, I would say 500 grams is about 15 minutes in boiling water. What you then need to do is submerge it into icy water to cool it very rapidly. What that does is actually help reduce or pull away the meat from the actual shell, which makes it easier to actually remove when you come to dress it. Pull off the claws first of all, just dismantle the crab. My preference today is just to break off or just snap off the legs. I'm actually going to use those for decoration, but you can crack them and remove the white meat from inside. Alternatively, you can leave them for your guest to actually crack and to remove using a lobster pick a bit later. Now, there are various ways of removing this, but the method that I find particularly easy is to put your thumb on the underside of the shell, take a bit of a step back, and then press up. So what that does is lever out the main body from the carapace itself. So those two come away. I have the mouthpiece, which is here. There's some gills, or sometimes known as dead man fingers. They're actually situated there, and both of those actually need to be removed prior to thinking about removing the meat and dressing. You might find some in the main part of the shell. You also might find some attached to the main white body. So that actually wants to be pulled away and removed. The other part that we want to remove, is a little bit of liquid in there today. I'm just going to tip a bit of that out. I don't want all of that in there. But the brown meat, which is actually underneath the shell here, is going to be pretty good quality. What I need to do now is remove the mouthpiece. So I put my thumb on there and just gently press, just to snap it, and then pull that back across the body to remove that. Now there's a tiny bit of brown meat there, and what I'm actually going to do is just scoop that away. There's a bit of fat as well, but the rest in there is actually the stomach contents, and we don't want that, so I want to remove that. So the key things at this stage to remove are the gills and the stomach contents and that little bit of shell, which is where the mouthpiece would have been. There's a tiny little bit of membrane in here, which I also don't want, so I'm just going to pull that away. And then I want to keep the brown and white meat separate for dressing purposes. So what I'm going to do is take a teaspoon, scoop out the meat from the inside of the carapace. So you've got brown meat that comes from the actual carapace. And that's now ready for seasoning. Traditionally, it's flavoured with a tiny bit of mustard, a little bit of anchovy essence, Worcester sauce, a little bit of salt and pepper, a splash of vinegar. The next thing then is to look for the white meat, which is in the claws and in the main body. And to do that, the first thing we want to do is split the main body in half. You've got that little bit of tail, which we don't want, so that's going to be discarded as well. Now, in the body here, we've seen a little bit more brown meat, so that could be scooped out. We can then start looking for the white meat. And the white meat is going to be in all these little cavities in here. There's lots of little areas, and what I'm going to do is take a bowl and just very carefully, with that spoon, pick those out. I've only got a small amount, but I then need to cut it in half again in order to see, because there'll be more on this side as well. A bit more in this side. Get as much out as you can, and then shake the bowl. And I can't hear anything pinging against the side there, and that would tell me that I've been pretty careful in the extracting of the meat from this part of the body. Now the main white meat is actually going to come out of the claws. I've got a mallet here. You can use a small heavy base saucepan as an option. Quite controlled taps, not too heavy, so that you don't end up with too much of a shattered claw. A little bit of juice and tiny little bits left in there, which make a very good stock, and we gently pull that away. A fishmonger will be able to do this sufficiently well to take out the whole claw without actually damaging it, and then just gently ease that away and see whether we can actually extract the meat in one go. Now, a fishmonger would pride themselves on actually popping that on the top of a dressed crab. Today, what I want to do is actually remove a little bit of cartilage that runs through the centre. So I'm going to just use my thumbs just to break that down and to take out that little bit of central cartilage. We want to use a lobster pick just to extract that meat. One more whack just to break the claw here. And then what we're going to do is shells into one side and more white meat into another. There is a little bit of white meat in the actual legs, but today I'm going to use those for garnish and decoration. And if you want to, you can crack them. The best way to do that is to crack on the narrowest part of the shell. You've got a natural line all the way around the edge of the shell or the carapace, and what you need to do is cover the edge of the shell with a cloth. When you shatter this, it's very sharp, so you need to protect your hands. Cloth on there just to snap, cloth on there to snap, and keep snapping it round, and it will break along the natural line. And then what you need to do is clean the shell really thoroughly. I'd recommend using a scourer under cold water. You don't want to put this under hot water, it's already cooked, so it's cold water. Scour that off to get it really nice and clean. And then you can just use a tiny bit of oil on a cloth just to brush over this or wipe over it to give it a nice glean. Having removed all the meat from the crab, there's various things you can do with it. You can either replace it back into the clean shell as a dressed crab. You've got your seasoned brown meat in the middle. You've got white meat at either side, and then that can be decorated. We've got chopped hard-boiled egg white on one side with chopped parsley, or some sieved hard-boiled egg yolk on the other side. The other alternative is to do something very classic, like an Italian classic, which is chili crab linguine. And all you would do with that is olive oil, garlic and chili and some white wine cooked together, some cooked linguine tossed into there, and then we're going to add a little bit of the brown meat just to give it a little bit of depth of flavour just into that. So I'm going to scoop a little bit of that into the linguine. And then I'm going to fork in some of that lovely white crab meat, a good sprinkling of parsley, and some seasonings already gone in there, heated together. And then once that's nice and hot and steaming, we're going to pile it into a dish for serving. So that's very simple.